Hey, sorry about the poor quality. First time filming on this camera and first video I've done really. But this is a comparison between what's different from the Walking Dead comics to the TV show. I'm just doing volume 1 right now. And I'll hopefully can do the rest soon. Folks, it's going to be a shout out to someone who does a lot of Walking Dead videos called Trev Shane 2. Sorry, I might have mispronounced that, but he's done a lot of these videos. Before I start, I just want to say what's not in the show, comics, I mean. No, morals, like the family that was in season 1, part of season 2 and got left. No Donna, that's one of the characters' wives. No Vatos, that's the group that, took Glenn and Rick Daryl went after. No Ed, that's Carol's husband. He died before the apocalypse in the show. You got no CDC, so no Dr. Junior. And I know I'm going to mispronounce this character's name, but it's the black one from season 1. So I'm not going to try to pronounce her name. And I'm not going to try to show too much of the comics. I don't know how much that's allowed. But, as you know, in the beginning of this show, Rick and Shane are talking, just discussing about women and Rick's wife, but in the comics it just goes right up to the action, right before Rick gets shot and goes into a coma. Instead of seeing Shane bringing the flowers and you think no time has passed at all before he wakes up and you see the dying flowers, he just wakes right up. So you don't have that nice little scene of where you see the flowers and you see how much time has actually passed. Him waking up, basically going through the hospital, first is the same. Besides the nice scene where you see in the show where it says, in the cafeteria where it says, "Do not open," dead inside. In the comics, that's what you see. Because in the show, he's walking through the hospital, going down the steps, can't see anything, and really the first zombies he sees is, if I remember right when he gets out. The way he kind of finds the bicycle girl is different because her whole body is still intact. In the show, it's just torso. And it doesn't show him going through his house really at all, so that's another difference. And the way he meets Morgan and his child is different. He still gets hit over the head with the shovel, but it's about it. They don't really go into that huge discussion into detail, and you don't see Morgan's wife at the beginning of the first episode, which made the episode really great. Let's see. Trying to see what else is different. Him going to the gas station trying to get gas is the same, but that wasn't the beginning of the episode. That was just a flash forward. Where he gets the horse, just about the same. There's a little difference, not as much detail. And one huge difference is when Rick goes into town and gets attacked by the zombies, the walkers. Sorry. You don't have the tank. That's one thing that's missing from the comics. The way he meets Glenn is completely different. He just runs and luck finds Glenn. Which sometimes I prefer the comics and sometimes I prefer the show myself. Also, one other huge difference is instead of meeting Andrea, T-Dog, oh yeah, and there's no Dixon brothers either. No Daryl, no Merle. Instead of going to the little the convenience store, whatever it was, he just meets his family right then and there. And so right at that time, you don't have him going through a Walker Guts trying to escape at this point. And you do have a couple of characters that, well, not in the show, will show up at different times. Let's see. Basically, Shane is mostly the same, but he's more of a dick and not as likable in the comics like he is in the show. Because in the show, you really do feel like conflict that Shane is going for, from saving Rick's family, taking care of him, and all that, how it went downhill, which was great. And Dale, still got the hat, but of course he's different. He lives longer in the comics than in the show because there's a few rumors why he wanted to be killed off. So, I don't know. And you kind of have the part where you have where they wash the clothes, but of course Carol is different in the comics than she's in the show, which is really great. In the comics, she's more sluttish, depressed, and just not good. And of course, like I said, her husband died before the apocalypse. Before the apocalypse in the comics. And another difference is, we'll come up to it, is about Sophie. Because in the beginning, at the end of season 1, she disappears and finds her in the barn, but she's still alive in the comics. Unless she's died in a later issue that I haven't read yet, which is very possible. And there was no Daryl in the comics, but you do have the deer that was killed right there. But in the comics, it's Daryl shot the deer and the zombie took it out, and you're just missing that. Let's see. You still have the part where Daryl does cut the head off of the walker. Let's see. Again, I'm not trying to show too much of the comic because I don't know where the line is of how much I can show without getting in trouble. You do have in the comics where you see Shane coming up faster just to the boiling point before he loses his mind even more. Okay. Here's where, later on, where Rick and Glenn do cover themselves up in Walker blood, but it's not the same like in the show, but they took part of this element for the show, where they are going for supplies, but you do see the tank there. Which I prefer that way that they did in the show, myself. And you have, well, it does rain and wash it off. Let's see. I'm not trying to go through every little tiny detail because I know the video would go on way too long and you don't want to keep hearing my voice going on. Here's the campfire scene, like, where they have it where Andrea's sister does get attacked, but you don't get to know much about her really in the comics. You get to see a little more about her in the show. Plays out just the same when she gets attacked and bit. And one thing I will say is, Andrea's character is much better in the comics. Like Carol's character is much better in the show. And Andrea is still alive in the comics. But you still do get the, where Jim does get bit. And another thing is, like, Shane's character in the comics does not last long. He does not survive as long. And of course, right here is where Jim does die, and they leave him around the tree, and that's where season 1 did end comic book wise because there's no CDC. And right after that, this same day, you see where Shane and Rick go hunting, and he finally snaps. Because in the show, Rick stabs him at the end of season 2, and Carl shoots the zombie. But in the comics, Carl's the one that does kill him. And they don't find out that he became a walker after that. So I do say zombie time to time, and it's just a habit of mine. But in the comics, it comes toward it later. And this is where basically book one, chapter one does end, right where Shane dies. Then you have a little flashback of Shane and Laurie, which a lot of people hated Laurie, so. Okay, another big difference. Tyrese shows up in book one, which he shows up with Sasha in season 3. And this he has a daughter and her boyfriend, which does not happen in the show. Oh, another thing. Carol does have a thing with Tyrese in the comics. And you'll see Glenn later on where he wanted to be with her, but then gets with Maggie. Let's see. Okay. Here's another difference. You don't have this in the show. Well, you kind of do. You kind of do it when Shane and Andrea go looking for Sophie. So this kind of little neighborhood is in there. And another difference is in the comics, Andrea and Dale do get together, but they didn't in the show. You do have an attack that happens in here that's pretty awesome attack that I liked. That wasn't in the show. Again, sorry if I'm trying to rush this. I just don't want it to drag out too far. But if you want me to do another video to do this more in depth, I will. I might even make it in 2 parts. And in the show, Shane and Rick go out with Carl, and Carl sees the deer, and he gets shot. But in here it's Tyrese and Rick, but he does get shot. Let's see. And Otis is not a fat, slow dude like he is in the show. He lives longer in the comics. And just meet Herschel. Trying to get a good look right there. Which totally different from the TV show, which I prefer the TV show Herschel. In the comics, he's more of a dick. He really is. There's no likable qualities for him, and he has more kids in the comics, and there's no Beth at all either. And another thing is, when they found the barn with all the walkers in there, he doesn't say anything, but in the comics he does say it. And also you can see Sophie is still alive, and she's still alive too. But in the show, they killed her for... I think I saw on Trev's channel where there's a rumor where the parents found out really what the show was about and didn't want her in there because of her young age. And not here, Maggie just basically says, yeah, we'll have sex with each other. Just right away, right at the dinner table. And let's see. Like I said, Herschel's more of a dick, even towards women writing the comics. But he's more of a dick towards Laurie, but some people can say, hey, she deserved it. Out here is where they try to lead a walker, back to the barn, and you got one of Herschel's kids gets killed. Then you have one of his daughters. Also, but There's a nice little shot where Maggie knees Glenn. But then the rest of his kids basically just get wiped out right here. And another difference is Glenn stays at the farm when they leave. Because Herschel finally catches them in the act and calms down for a while and just basically says, yes, you can stay. And there's no T-Dog. I don't know if I said that or not. Here's another thing. Right here is right when they find the prison. So basically you just covered seasons 1 and 2 within one book. Well, 12 issues, really. And that's just where it ends right here for book 1. And probably know I missed a few things. Just basically a lot of alike, but like in the show they change a lot, which I'm glad, because it makes you keep guessing what's going to happen when you read the comics and you watch the show. And this video is actually for the Facebook group I have, which I'll put a link in the description below, along with Trev's channel, just to get more views. And besides, it's not the best video again. I'll try to do better on as I keep going. But if you like this, at least give it a like, and if I reach 10 likes, I'll do book 2. And if you want me to do this video again to go into more depth, I will. Thank you.